Should we make a start? That'd be great, I reckon. I'm Carly Francis. I've met some of you, I haven't met all of you. And I'm currently working over in the A-Levels department. I teach A-Level psychology. Although I'm having a little bit of a change in my job role. And as of the 1st of February, I'm going to be a research coordinator here at the college, coordinating some of the research projects that are going on into learner achievement and development and how our current curriculum design is impacting on learner success and achievement. There is a slight psychological element to it in that it's based on kind of cognitive behavioural principles. Is anyone in here aware of or got any insight into cognitive behavioural coaching or therapy? Anyone heard of that stuff before? Yeah? Guys, what do you know about it? What have you heard about it?
My son's got cognitive disorder.
Okay, yeah, so kind of you've got a bit of insight from a personal point of view.
And we work in foundation studies, so we've got students.
Yeah, and could you just kind of give a bit of insight into how that kind of manifests itself in the sort of in the learner, in their behaviour?
It's a day-to-day thing. It depends what mood, what's happened in the morning.
Yeah.
What happens through the day.
Yeah.
What's changed.
So it can be quite kind of.
Yeah, you just got to play it by ear. Really, there's no, in the morning they could be fine, something could change.
Yeah. And so something can change their mindset, the way they think.
At break time, within 5 minutes, and you've got a completely different person after break.
Yeah, definitely. So already you're kind of getting a feel for actually the way someone thinks and their cognitions can have a massive impact on how they behave, and also very quickly. Someone over here nodded a little bit as to having a bit of an insight into cognitive behavioural therapy or coaching. Did someone say they have?
Is it just a way of sort of reprogramming the patterns that you're stuck in?
Yeah.
Rather than a kind of psychoanalytical approach?
Yeah.
Kind of nuts and bolts.
Absolutely. So this morning, guys, we're not going to go into massive amounts of detail about cognitive behavioural therapy or cognitive behavioural coaching. This is to just give you a bit of a general insight into how our mindset can impact on what we do. And fundamentally, the key thing we're going to be focusing on is how do our beliefs and our thoughts impact on what our learners do, or how do theirs impact on what they do. So by the end of this morning, you will hopefully have been introduced to this concept of growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Research tells us, and you'll hear me say research because I'm a bit of a geek in that sense. I like to read research, I like to write research, but it tells us, and for a long time now has told us, that our mindset can massively impact on how we approach things, how we deal with things, and also how we change things. So by this morning, we're going to consider two different types of mindset, growth and fixed. We're going to think about how these two mindsets might manifest themselves in learners and how learners might present when they have these different mindsets. And we're also going to think about how you guys, because you're doing this every day, you see these learners every day in an unpredictable state, in a very predictable pattern sometimes, what you can do and what you actually are doing to develop the mindset rather than anything else. Hi Dan, you are lucky. We have one chair left. So I will let you know. If you want to sit here, Dan, or grab a chair over there, it's entirely up to you. So you're doing this all the time. So we're going to think about what you're currently doing, because you'll be surprised how much you are doing with this stuff already. But what we can also think about in order to challenge and change the mentality rather than always focusing on content, knowledge and skill building, we're now going to focus on how do we change the personality and the attributes of the learner that we're working with, because that fundamentally has a big impact. So what I'm going to give you, before we start, can you all just quickly run through your names for me? I won't remember them, but I feel like I would feel better if you've told me who you are and where you're from. Can we start over here?
Sure, yeah. My name's Peter Moretti. I'm the learning manager for Climate Electrical at the Leeds.
Okay. Thank you.
Julian Sampson, and I'm a tutor for Pintec.
I know you. I know you.
Jeff Carwell, tutor of electrical in Blackburn Leeds.
Thank you.
Luke Grace, lecturer in art design.
Okay, so we've got already a real kind of variety of people. It's great.
I'm Nikki Marriage and I work in studies.
Thank you.
I'm Lisa Dwyer, creative arts.
Okay, thanks.
I'm Samantha Jones, a lecturer in art and design.
Thank you.
Tracy Bennett, I'm the learning coach in caring and health.
Becky Mullett, I work in ESOL.
Catherine Economy, levels and GCSEs.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Sam Waters, teacher of business.
I know your name, Ash, but
Natasha Kay, LSA Foundation.
great, thanks, Ash.
Emma Allen, LSA Foundation.
Really treated her LSA Foundation.
Lee.
Rachel Powell, lecturer at IT.
Rob Chaplin, teacher performing arts.
Thanks, Rob.
Capital score in history and geography A-levels.
You're all feeling like a student at the beginning of the term. It's great, isn't it? We'll never do this exercise again with the ruling.
James Postlewaite, LM for construction.
Thanks, James.
Kid Crickets, VTM, Ordinary.
Dan Nightingale, lecturer of carpentry.
Okay. Did we just have to read the rankings open up for us? Didn't we? We did,
yes.
so you've already met this
You've
morning.
already upset them.
I did, yeah. And last but not least.
Denise Warnock, word placement officer.
Okay.
For
Brilliant. So we've got a real variety of people in this room. So when we talk about this stuff, guys, it's completely transferable to everybody, everything, and every role. And we're kind of talking about cognition on a real kind of behavioural level and an attitudinal level. So bear that in mind as we go along. So I'm going to give you a task to do. There's a lot of people in this room. You don't actually need to move so much. All you need to know is that you can stand up at some point and have a little bit of space around you. I'm going to give you a piece of paper. There is a reason for doing this, so don't worry, why is she making us do this? I'm going to give you a piece of paper, and I'm going to give you 6 minutes to work out a way of tearing this paper so you can get your whole body through it from head to toe. Okay, but your only rule is
Chop the body up.
that you have to, no, without chopping, please don't do that.
Can you go to the photocopy machine?
No, okay, you don't need any equipment, just yourselves, but work out a way, and you have to keep an edge intact, okay, so you can't rip it all apart and stick it all back together, okay, but what I want you to do is think about tearing it in a way that will enable you to fit your whole body through it. Irrespective of size, shape, height, it can be done. Alright, I'm going to give you, well, now 5 minutes, and we'll see how far you get. There you go, guys. So, has anyone managed to do it yet? Has anyone got to the point where they're even trying to put themselves through it? No? We're kind of on the right kind of line over here. I'm not going to show you how to do it just yet, because I want you to ponder it, alright? By the end of the lesson, it's terrible, isn't it? Session, you might think about how to do this by reflecting on what you've done so far. But what I want you to just think about is when I first asked you to do that task, what thought went through your head? What was your immediate thought about doing that as a task?
Immediately too much Christmas.
I thought it was the mindset.
It's a trick.
Okay, so Tash, you thought it's a trick.
That's good though.
Okay, what else were you thinking, guys?
Surprise what we're going to do.
Okay,
Tell you what, I wasn't quite clear on the rules.
okay. So I'm not quite clear. Yep, good, Kathleen.
Make them on a piece of paper, do you?
Yeah, so how can I make it bigger?
No, it's just automate the, so you can make that one piece of paper.
Yes, okay, so if you had a big bit of paper.
No, with the same piece of paper, you tear it in such a way that
Good, great, okay. Guys, can anyone sit there and think? Folks, did anyone sit there and think it's not possible? So you thought it wasn't possible, you thought it's not possible. So let's think about that.
I can think of items.
Okay, so the same incident, guys, has happened. You've all had the same trigger, which was the task, all right? So your task, your activating event, which is an A, was to tear your paper in a way that enables you to fit through it, okay? Everybody in here had a different thought about that as a task. Some people were like, it's a trick. So Tash, you said it's a trick. What did you do in response to that thought? Did you have a go? Did you sit and think about it?
I thought a lot about it.
Okay.
I'm trying to work out how you might be tricking me.
She wants to eat.
Yeah, that's
I kept
exactly
rereading
how
the task.
Okay, so Sam, you
I kept
did what?
rereading the task.
Okay,
Wondering if there was a play on words or something like that.
okay, so you were kind of a bit sceptical, kind of took your time about it, and kind of thought maybe there's a trick in the task. Okay, took time about it. Someone who said it's not possible, what did you do?
I thought you meant mindset, I don't know if you meant physically, but the one to your
Okay,
mindset.
so you had a different perception of what was going on. Did you attempt to even try it? No, so your paper was still intact, so you didn't even do the task, yeah? Okay, so you didn't do it. What about, I'm not quite clear. Kathleen, what did you do?
Well, what I should have done was just to make sure I asked you.
Okay.
How I didn't manage to do that. Because I already started progress.
Okay, so you already started it, which is fine, but you reflect in your mind on, I know what to do, I need to ask you to do it. Okay, so what, you just had to go anyway?
Yeah.
Okay? So, I want you to think about this in the context of your learners. It was a stupid task, let's face it, it's a bit of fun, stupid task, but you all thought differently about the task at hand. So the same event, the same trigger, we had some people thinking it's a trick, some people thinking it's not possible, some people thinking I don't really know what I've got to do, and as a result, you all responded, albeit you're having a go, in a very different way, to the point where some people completely didn't even try it, to others getting completely stuck in straight away. But the point is, from this, is that from the same event, our thought processes, what we think in a situation, ultimately determines what we do. If you think about that in the context of our learners, how might that play out in their approach to their work? How might their own thought processes impact on whether or not they're likely to engage in what you're asking them to do? What do you reckon? So, for example, if you set them an assignment or assessment, what sort of thoughts do you think they might have about that? Kathleen?
One thought I had was that they need to have, in order to engage with it, in order to do it, they need to trust the teacher that the teacher is telling the truth when they say that they can do it.
Yeah.
And I think this sort of, it's not possible if you do it, it's a lack of confidence in the teacher.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe this isn't possible at all, and therefore I'm not even going to bother. So that's one good example. So a student might need trust in who they're working with. Good. How else might a learner respond because of how they think or feel about what you're asking them to do?
They haven't succeeded at school, so they're not going to succeed.
Yeah, think about students like you were saying about people that come in and do maths and English and stuff, and they had a really rubbish experience of it at school. The first thing you do is you're going on functional skills math. What is their immediate thought about maths if they're rubbish at it? Hate it, rubbish at school, don't want to do it, and therefore, how are they going to behave?
They start being disruptive.
Yeah, they won't try, they start being disruptive, they'll disengage, all because of the way they think about it. I love that you're thinking there about their experience at school, because experience at school teaches students whether or not they're smart enough to do something, or whether or not they're not clever enough. Because of the way education has been focused on this test score mentality, it's about the grade you get at the end. Many learners, as you know, come to us with this fixed mindset that I'm not intelligent enough, I can't do certain things, so therefore, because I'm not clever enough to do it, I won't bother trying. But research tells us that that is not true. Cognitive behavioural coaching and therapy tells us that we can learn anything. So I want to pick up on what Kathleen was telling us about a learner needs certain things in order to try and to be successful and achieve. In your groups, just on your tables, I just want you to have a quick think about, just for 2 minutes, really quickly, what you think. No, let's go a bit longer than that. Let's go 3 or 4 minutes. What you think a learner needs in order to be successful. Okay? So what fundamentally sounds like a really basic question. What do they need in order to be successful and achieve what it is they're working towards? Right, Kathleen's already given. So let's have a think about some of this stuff, guys. So I want you to think about what you were just saying in your groups about the things that impact on the success and achievement of learners. Can you just give me some of the ideas that you all have just spoken about in your groups, and I've heard loads except this group. So let's start with this group. What have you got?
That there's, well, we've got, the brain will shut down if the person has told themselves that they can't do it, or automatically they won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
That we have to kind of let them know that there's no shame in not being able to do it the first time.
Yeah.
And that some people are going to need a few more attempts at it than others.
Yeah.
You know, everyone learns at different rates.
So, Phil, is that right in you saying then that you as a teacher, it's your kind of responsibility to offer support and encouragement to say that if you don't get it the first time, that's okay?
Yeah, fine. It's a learning process, basically. That, you know, if you don't get it the first time, well, you might get it the second or third, but it is part of the learning process as you go along.
Yeah, that's
actually,
sure.
you know.
And to enable someone to realise that it's okay to fail. Exactly. Yeah, good. Love that.
You
Okay, give
can
us some more.
install that,
sorry.
I've installed that because I've put an equation on the board and I've sat there and I've deliberately made a mistake in my workings out.
Yeah.
So when they sit there and say, well, we can't do that, and I say, why can't we do that? And then we look at it and it's blatantly obvious then that I've made a mistake myself, and I say, well, we all make mistakes.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
then they start believing that actually, if you're making mistakes, it's okay for them to make mistakes as
Yeah,
well.
for sure. Because we're human too, and that's real. And modelling that that's okay to them is going to help them learn that it's okay. So that's a really nice example. So can I put up there as well? Are you modelling whatever behaviour it is you want to elicit from them? Great, guys, shout me out some more ideas.
We actually picked up, as a table, we all said exactly the same thing, that it's getting them to overcome that fear of failure. And we all said that actually it's
it's building those relationships with students at the beginning, so that they trust you, they're not afraid to be wrong, and they're not afraid to be wrong in front of their peers as well. You've sort of got this no blame culture that everyone's able to say, I don't get it, I don't understand, without being feeling stupid or being made to look stupid.
That's where we were saying as a table, that's where you, if you've got someone that's struggling with that and they get to a certain point, don't force them to go further. Make them stop, go back, start the whole thing over again. So next time they go that one step further. And stop it again, bring it all the way back down and just keep building up. And before the end of the day, you can see that they've actually got from there to there, and then they've succeeded the same as the person that's clever with us has got the same.
So,
the same thing.
it sounds like building in some time for them to reflect actually. So as a learner, if they've got good reflection skills or they're being encouraged to use reflection, that will help them work towards something in a better way. So at the end of the session, you're all going to reflect on that task you all did at the beginning and you're going to have another go. And if you still don't get it, then I'll show you how to do it. So let's go with some other ideas guys. Shout them out for me because we're going to fill this up and we're going to tell you why. Shout them out. What makes a learner successful?
Motivation.
Motivation. What else? Please excuse my writing as well, it's terrible.
Pastoral care support.
Okay, so we put pastoral care. Yeah, what else?
Confidence.
Confidence in what?
Some say for early, but yeah, confidence
So
that
in
they
the-
can actually achieve.
Okay, so almost like that self-efficacy that I'm able to achieve what it is I've set out to. Yeah, definitely. Which if you think back about like right student, right course, if we don't get that right, they're going to have no self-efficacy. They're not going to believe they can achieve it because they're on the wrong course. It's not what they think they're good at, what they want to do. What else, guys? Got loads?
So previous positive learning experiences.
Yeah. Okay. You're going to work out in a minute why. So why might that be important, Dan?
Because if they failed at everything, they hated all their teachers, like when they step into your classroom the first time, then it's just more of a challenge to, they might fit, everyone else they know might have told them education is a waste of time.
Yeah.
So then you've got more of writing down things clearly is a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And that mindset, how many years of education have they had before they get to us? My maths isn't that good. A lot. And actually, they will have a lot of those ideas will be firmly entrenched. Those neural pathways about rubbish, education's rubbish, it's failed me, will be firmly entrenched in their head. And I don't envy us as teachers because we have to try and undo that. So what else have we got? We've got 2 black boxes
The
here.
environment they're working in.
Okay, so why might that be important?
If it's dingy and rubbish and violent and
So the physical environment.
working there.
Yeah. What else about the environment might be important? So the physical stuff is definitely important.
They've got to be comfortable in the environment.
Yeah.
So maybe, if they're not comfortable, then fidgety and stuff like that because they feel they shouldn't be there, sort of thing. So.
Yeah. And if they feel comfortable and they feel supported, ultimately they're going to feel safe. A learner needs to feel safe to fail, to make mistakes, to push themselves. So I'll put a feeling of safety on there. Okay, so there's a couple of things. Ultimately, as a teacher, what are you trying to give them?
One of the things,
Say it again. Sorry, Kathleen.
one of the things that we said on our table was really clear instruction, and I think you should extend that to making sure they knew what they were doing, why they were doing it, and how they were going to do it.
Yeah, definitely. So they need clarity. I think someone over there said what's the word, the wise things. They need clarity about what they're doing, but you're also giving them clarity in what you're teaching them, content and knowledge. Ultimately, they need that to get their qualification. So they need content, they need knowledge. What else are you giving them that's going to help them develop their knowledge?
Skills.
Skills. Good. What skills would you expect a learner to need to be successful?
Critical faculty.
Okay, so I've got 2 there. So I'll go communication. Definitely. How many learners do you think are good at that from your experience? I mean, I'm not particularly good at that sometimes, I have to say. Most of the time I'm not actually. But loads of them, they don't even know what communication is. And we ask them to do it in so many different ways. Verbal, written, oral, whatever. We do it in so many ways, but they can't distinguish
Some
all
of
the
us
time.
just interaction, eye contact, that's the only communication.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can have.
So helping them develop those skills is really important. You said something, didn't you, about skills? What skills did you say?
Critical faculty.
So what is that? How would you describe that?
Well, being able to analyse the task, strip it down, work out whether it's valuable or not.
Yeah. So analysis, evaluation, skills. Yeah. Anything else?
Listening skills.
Yep.
No listening skills.
I just gave my learners a piece of homework at Christmas. Half of my learners came back and said after Christmas I haven't done it. Like, you've had 3 weeks. What have you done with your time? Time management, they're useless, aren't they? Bless them. I'm useless, I have to say, but these are not things that are only attributable actually to learners, I have to say. When we talk about growth mindset, we might all sit here and go, that's me, that's me, that's me. And that's the nice thing about mindset is that actually you might walk out of here and go, do you know what, that's something I could do with. I always think it's something that I could work on because mindset's not just about them. So if you look at this little board, all of a sudden it makes you realise how much we as teachers and us as an organisation are having to contend with, and we can feel this, we can keep going. But a learner needs to be successful. Loads of external factors, guys, will influence on the success of a learner. External being outside of them. Support, the environment, what other people are saying, what other people are doing, will impact on their achievement and success. The amount of content and knowledge they get is going to impact on their success, but this stuff is internal. This is everything that's relevant to them. The skills that they develop and that we teach them here will impact on their success and achievement, as will their psychological functioning. Okay, so their psychology, their mindset, those internal factors are really important. But historically,
Carly, can you just explain why you said that content and knowledge are internal to them? Because
well, this is true.
I mean, what was your thinking there?
Well, actually, I'm going to ask you. What's your thinking as to why maybe it might be something else?
Was that actually content and knowledge goes back to what Luke was saying, that there has to be a critical analysis of content and knowledge and how it links with society and things that are outside of our small little environment that we work with people in.
So
that's all I was thinking.
No, you're absolutely right in picking that up because this is external too, because we're imparting it. It's us that's imparting it, but what they do with it is internal to them. So how they process it, how they manage it, what they do to improve it, enhance it, is linked to this stuff.
It doesn't, sorry.
I think it's interesting in relation to what stuff that's coming back from HE institutions is that they're not actually interested necessarily in people who are entrepreneurially aware, they're actually interested in creativity and critical awareness. Actually.
Yeah, absolutely, because...
So actually people with students I teach who tend to sort of look at a project and then work out whether it's where the flaws are in it, and you know, they actually are often the most creative people.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So those that are using those skills that you spoke about, analysis, evaluation, we don't do qualifications in how to evaluate, do we, or how to be analytical. Ultimately, what we're saying is things that make us successful are the things that underpin what we're learning, which makes us start to question. It's not what they're learning that's going to make them successful, it's who they are and the mindset they apply to it. And historically, in education, we've always focused on this kind of test score mentality, the end result. If you get an A, you must be really smart. If you get an E, you're rubbish. Well, actually, I want to kind of challenge that, and education is challenging that, in that we should focus much more on, as well as the content and knowledge, the fundamental psychological skill and attribute development, which we're not we're not explicitly focused on. But research now tells us that if we explicitly teach this stuff, then students continue to improve at a faster rate than if we don't, which is really powerful. So by doing this, obviously we're all interested in creating the best learning environments we can for our learners. And we know they need all of this to achieve. It's no mean feat. I know this is quite small, this text, guys, you don't really need to know it. But what we do know is that, sorry, you don't need those slides. Actually, you don't need those, it's not important. But ultimately, what is important is this stuff here. Our curriculum designs are moving forward in a way that they're becoming much more three-dimensional. And that actually, to focus on only this, we're going to miss a whole load of learners. We're going to fail, if you like, a whole load of learners. To focus only on this, we're going to miss a whole load of learners. And to focus only on this and not deliver this, then actually we're going to miss a whole load of learners. So we need to start thinking how we can become much more three-dimensional. Because we know intelligence is not the biggest predictor of success. Phil, you're nodding your head there. Why are you nodding your head?
Because you get when you first get with class at the beginning of the term, straight away within say the first day, maybe 2 days, already you know straight away who the bright ones are and who the quiet ones are, who might be struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, the bright ones are there, they're already motivated, they're already there. So as long as you give them a challenge and keep them going, you can then start to pick up the ones that are lagging a little bit behind.
Yeah.
And then it's trying to move the whole group forward. So you have to use what you've got. Use the bright ones that's in there, and take the other ones, shall we? Because that's their challenge.
Yeah.
Bring these along with you.
Can I just chip in as the language police? And sorry, this isn't meant at all like a sort of dig at all, but being critical, I feel really passionate actually that like the labelling of like using words like bright and kind of age and stuff are actually, and I'm sure we do it with in front of students and stuff, but actually is kind of counterproductive because wherever someone's starting point is, if they come in as an A-star student, they've got a progression to get a lot better. Similarly, if they come in with a U grade. And I think a lot of the actual problem in terms of feedback is with a student coming in with like a label on their head or mentally with them, which feels to them like a massive barrier to success. Whereas if you just focus on what they can do to improve, you know, for every student, and that's all that's necessary. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no, it's a good
I
point
use
actually.
mine
Because
as a team. Everybody that comes into my class with a team, I'm no different than people that sat in front of me. I'm there to pass on my stuff. They're there to pass on their stuff.
Yeah.
If one person fails, we all fail as a whole class. Every one of us fails in it because we let that person down. So you've got to make sure that they all work as a team.
And I think often with the brightest student, the highest performing students, the highest performing students, is to get them to be generous. This is one of the things that Cherwell are banging on, them to be generous with their learning and share it socially, so that they are then being mini teachers.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No, you're right. And actually, I love
but
what you're
that's the
thinking
key
of.
dynamic actually, rather than what might be perceived as the lower abilities. Actually focus on the able, but get them like pushing and sharing their knowledge.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We've got someone that's just fit through the piece of paper, by the way. I'm going to show you how to do that at the end. But you're right, just picking up. Can I just come back to you in one sec? Just picking up on what Phil and Dan said. Actually, Phil, you're right in thinking, what strategies can I use to take the ones that are clearly getting this and put them in a place that can support others? But Dan, you're absolutely right. When we talk about
learn faster from their peers than they will from us because they're more willing to learn from them. They're more willing to listen to them, and also they communicate completely different than what we do.
Yeah, and thinking about what Dan was saying, you're right, removing this label, when we look at the two types of mindset in a minute, what you'll see is actually labelling and praising people. This is a task field. Do you want to have a go, please? Or show you? Labelling people, you're right, Dan, actually creates them to have a certain attitude about learning. And what growth mindset tells us is that we shouldn't ever praise intelligence, we should praise effort, because people who praise intelligence, learners start to develop their own attitude about their own ability because they've for a long time been told you're really smart, so therefore you don't have to try because you're naturally clever. But actually what research shows us that even the brightest students who should be achieving the highest grades, if they don't have this, they will fail just as much as the people that don't have the ability or the higher intellect. Or so really, whether we're smart, bright, intelligent, whatever, is irrelevant if we haven't got the right psychological attributes. So you're right, Danny, that we need to be mindful of how we praise learners. So let's have a little think about this stuff then. Let's think about growth mindset. I know you guys can't see that. Do you know what? I'm abandoning the laptops. Didn't even try, did I? I'm abandoning them, namely because probably they've most run out of battery and I don't think we really need to do it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a link to a test called the Test of Growth Mindset. And you can go away and test your own afterwards to see how you are in terms of your own mindset. But Carol Dweck, all right, this is a little bit of theory stuff. Carol Dweck is kind of like the real guru in mindset. And she's focused a lot of her time in education looking at growth versus fixed mindset. I think Ian mentioned it this morning, but she believes that no matter what your ability is or your intelligence or capability, the thing that ignites capability is effort. And that if we work towards creating effort and momentum towards success and achievement, then that's where learners have a much better result than if we focus only on how intelligent someone is. So, she says that a fixed mindset, that's not very well positioned here guys, can you see that screen? So, it makes sense in theory. Okay, so what I want you to think about is if this was true, and I'm going to give you some evidence as to how it is true. If this was true, imagine yourself or imagine your learners, and you might even be thinking of them right now. One of them's fixed in that I've got what I've got, I'm not going to change how clever I am, this is where I'm at. And another one is, all right, I've got what I've got right now, but I'm in control of changing that, and I can achieve through hard effort and trying. I want you to go back into your groups and just discuss how you think those two learners will differ in their approach to learning, in their approach to being in the classroom, in their approach to working with other people. Okay, so imagine one with fixed, one with a growth. How are they going to differ in how they engage in the whole learning process? All right, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Yeah, we'll come around and see how you get on. Right, folks, so let's give me some feedback, guys, on what you're thinking. So we've got two very different mindsets. One thinking, what I've got is what I've got, completely deterministic, can't change it. One saying, actually, I can change this through hard work, effort, and I love challenge, and I love dealing with setbacks, all that sort of stuff. How are they going to differ in their approach to learning? What are your thoughts? Let's go fixed first. What's that learner likely to present like?
If I get it wrong, it's not my fault, it's because you haven't told me.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Didn't tell me how to do it.
yes, not mine, I'm not incompetent, it's everybody else. Love it. So they externalise responsibility. Absolutely. What else does a fixed mindset do? From your experience?
Lack enthusiasm.
Yeah, sometimes they can. They can lack it. Why do you think they might?
We get, oh, I've already done this, I know I can do it, so
Yeah.
what's the point in doing it again?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes that might not be about the fact they think they've done it before. It's maybe because they don't feel competent to do it, don't want to make a fool of themselves. Absolutely, love it. What else?
You're quite reluctant to engage in group work. They don't like sharing their ideas, either because they think they know it so they don't need to, or they don't know it and they don't want to be seen.
They don't want to be exposed, yeah, they don't want other people's competence makes them feel uncomfortable and inferior. Really good point, and I just realised I didn't come back to you, did I? We'll come back to that, remind me. Absolutely, so they don't want to look stupid, they feel they need to look smart at all costs. So either you've not told me right, or I'm too good for this, I don't need to do it. What else might they be like?
You get them as well that they don't need to know it. It's not something they need to know.
Yeah.
Why do they need
Yeah.
to do this?
Yeah.
It's
What's
not,
the point?
that's not what I want to do when I'm old. You know what job I'm looking for, so don't need
Yeah,
to do something.
so don't need to bother. It's really interesting you say that. I did this paper exercise with my A-levels yesterday, and I had a student that was sat there with his arms folded, blank piece of paper, did not even pick it up, and I thought, I'm going to go with this. So I said to him in the feedback, I said, Mickey, why haven't you picked up your paper? He went, it's a completely irrelevant task, it's not going to teach me psychology, what do I need to do it for? So in his head, he'd made his mind up from the second I gave the instruction, this is not going to get me anywhere, but ultimately it's completely linked to the session. So at the end of it, he was like, oh yeah, maybe I should have a go. So they're really fixed, really closed, not very open-minded at all. Any other thoughts, Tash?
They just want to get done what's in front of them and go.
Yeah.
They don't want to sort of expand on it or, you know,
Yeah.
talk about it, just get it done.
Yeah.
All I've got to do is go.
Yeah, and actually if you think about it, someone that thinks, maybe someone who thinks they have got this kind of intelligence that they need to succeed, how much effort are they going to put in? Because
If you have an assignment, you're not going to get, from somebody who's got a fix to your growth, you're going to get a more in-depth assignment from somebody who's got a growth mindset to you are. Because, like you said, if you've got to come in with a label, they're going to say, well, you already know I can do that, so why do I need to do it? I don't need to prove myself to you.
I didn't do your homework, Carly, because I know it anyway.
Then you know
Through
I know it.
Yeah, you know I know it. And interestingly, if you've got a fixed mindset learner who does an assignment, and actually it's rubbish, and you give them feedback on it, constructively of course, it's not this is rubbish, as much as you might like to say that, and we kind of say, you know, this is whatever, what's their response to your feedback going to be?
You don't know what you're talking about.
They probably won't read it, you don't know what you're talking about. Anything else? Yeah, defensive actually, or I don't know, there'll be some excuse or some reason as to why they can't do what you've said, or you're making them, you're doing something to them rather than
You don't
thinking
like them
about
is what we do.
Oh yeah, you might get that, you might, do you not know who I am? You know. So anyway, so that's fixed. We're going to look, they differ in 3 core ways. What about growth mindset, guys? What are they likely to be like? In your classroom as a teacher, what would you feel like in relation to them as a learner? Are they a pleasure to be around? Are they not? Are they needy? Are they...
They ask lots of questions,
Yeah.
they're interested, they want to know
They can be challenging.
Yeah, why can't they be
Because
challenging?
they'd be asking questions every 2 minutes. They want
Absolutely.
more information.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest problem, is actually, keeping everybody at the same pace.
Yeah, they want more. They want more knowledge to get better. They can be quite hard work,
Yeah,
definitely.
sometimes it can be,
But that's what you-
say, look, slow down, let's
Yeah.
get the other class up to where, and then we're,
Yeah.
because you get them, what are we doing next weekend? hold on, let's
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
wait and do this bit first and then.
Yeah, that's quite nice to see as a teacher, but it's hard work when you're like, do you know what, I've not even planned that far ahead, and you don't need to know that. So you look like you're going to say something.
Well, but funnily enough, though, I think sometimes the mindset students that you have,
Yeah.
if you can identify them, are often the most interesting for precisely the reason they are sort of, contained in this way. They can often end up being the most creative because the effort they put into being like that psychologically, if it's then reversed in another direction, they can be outstanding actually.
Yes, absolutely, and they really can, and they believe that actually challenge, failure, setbacks are all part of that learning experience. And I just want to give you a bit of insight into learners of a growth and a fixed mindset differ in relation to 3 core things. That is the way they set and approach goals, the way they apply and review effort, and the way they deal with setbacks. So they differ in relation to 3 key things, but lots of other factors are part of those things. So how do they differ? You might not be able to see that very well, but in relation to goals, it feels like, see, I've got this sheet.
Yeah.
In relation to a growth mindset, their belief is, so these are their beliefs is that you should learn at all times and at all costs. Because actually it's healthy, it challenges us, and I'm only going to get better if I learn at all times, at all costs. And that's a safe thing to do. They're not scared of looking stupid or daft, they actually embrace that. So they're 2 very different beliefs. In relation to effort, because fixed is deterministic, they're saying what I've got is what I've got, I can't change it, they apply little effort or less effort than someone with a growth mindset because they don't believe they need to. They've got it, they're naturally gifted. I don't need to apply myself anymore, I'm intelligent.
But you can make the 2 work together in classroom situations.
Absolutely.
All the time you can turn it around. So it's, instead of like someone just asking, like people saying, you get the need, or it keeps asking questions, you turn that around into a group discussion so everybody's got an input into it.
Definitely.
And then you'll find the ones then that think, well actually I might myself look stupid if I say something. They come up with a comment because someone else has got it, and then you turn that comment around, and that actually makes him start believing that he's actually learning what he's doing.
Definitely.
And you use it to your advantage and make them do the work.
Yeah, the best thing you can do is challenge your fixed mindset. Don't shy away from it. Like, the last time a learner said to me, don't really want to do that, Carly, there would have been a time where I'd have gone, all right, we'll ask someone that does. But now I'm like, no.
What if you are challenged by someone who is in a mindset, but they are actually accurate in that what you're asking them to do comes from a place of incompetence?
Well, I guess...
Because I often find with the BTEC qualification, which I mentioned earlier, that it is inherently flawed. So you're asking them to participate in a test of their competence when the thing itself is flawed.
That's a really difficult thing to do, and I really...
I'm constantly confronting the situation.
Yeah.
That's life's like that.
And I think when you think about that kind of, I think you were saying a minute ago, there's a lot of things that are at a much bigger, more political level, and sometimes we have to try and enforce things because that's the way they are. And that's a real challenge for us as a teacher when you're right, when the learner's saying, Carly, this is a load of rubbish, you're like, she's rubbish. Like the whole BTEC thing of not being able to give feedback. I'm like, we were talking about feedback because it's the most important thing to learn from, but now I can't give you it past a certain point. Like, it's crazy. So, do you know what? I don't really answer that question. And as practitioners, I guess that's things that maybe in a minute when you think about how you can instill this as a mindset. I think sometimes honesty is really helpful in just agreeing and saying, do you know what? Sometimes there are things we've got to do that we won't always agree with, but let's go with it together. Let's be collaborative about it. It's a really good question.
You've got to be not scared to admit you're wrong as well.
Absolutely not.
You've got to, if you sort of, like we're practical more than anything, so if you sort of always done something one way and someone actually comes up with a way and they think, and you sit there and think, well actually no, that make my life a lot easier if I started doing it that way. You've just got to be honest with them and admit, well actually that's a really good idea and I'll take that on board and we'll go from that way. Move forward.
Yeah, definitely. One of the best things you can do as a teacher is to have a growth mindset yourself and be open to ideas and challenge. And I always encourage my learners to say to me, Carly, that's wrong. Or Carly, what about this? Or have you not thought about that? Always, because the best thing you can do is model what you're wanting them to do, because that will challenge them more directly. It's a really good question. So, okay, so whereas the attitude that a growth mindset would have about ability is that actually effort activates ability. That the more we put in, the more we'll get out. And in relation to setbacks, as you've all said, a fixed mindset person feels they should hide and avoid them because it challenges their competence if they're wrong. They don't want to look stupid, they don't want to feel inferior. But a growth mindset thinks that setbacks are part of natural learning, and that actually it just makes us better learners and more successful. So you've probably got loads of learners in mind, and what I just want to briefly go through is, I'm not going to bore you with loads and loads of theory, I'm not going to bore you with loads and loads of data, but I'm just going to show you some visual representations of how promoting growth mindset, adopting it ourselves, and actually explicitly teaching it, which we don't at the moment. I'm interested to get your ideas about how we might towards the end of this session, how doing those things positively affects achievement. So, I'm going to give you a handout on that. Okay, so they might be processing it a little bit, but there is zip going on. They're not processing it, they're not analysing it, so all those skills we spoke about, they are not interested in what's happening in front of them. However, the growth mindset person, that is hot. What are they doing to that information that they're absorbing it, they're processing it?
Straight away that they make their error, right and wrong.
Absolutely. So they're taking that information, that error, that setback, that feedback, that challenge, and they're going, oh, hang on a minute, what is that about? How can I change that? What can I do with it? How am I going to retain it in order to be better the next time round? And this is, whilst only a crude image, this is a consistent finding in growth mindset research that actually with a growth mindset, our minds are much more active with challenge and difficulty, which will make us better. It fits in with that goal-focused approach. So, does this equate to achievement and success? Because I'm standing here banging on about, if we develop this, our learners will be better. Does it equate to achievement and success? I know you can't see this very well, I've got a better one. But what you can see, let's go with this one, is that learners who only develop their mindset slightly, this has been tested through the use of psychological testing, self-report, empirical measurements, in every type of subject, so maths, science, humanities, English, and overall, they all achieve. Let's not make no bones about this. Learners will achieve. But how high do we want them to achieve? How successful do we want them to be? With a small change in mindset, they achieve at this benchmark. If you explicitly teach mindset and promote it yourself, they achieve in every subject at a much higher level. So, we can't argue with science, it's very crude, it's very explicit. This has been really big in America for a long, long time, and the role of cognition is not new to us, but we're just trying to apply it in a much more educational capacity. I believe our learners, we will do an amazing job, they achieve every year, but imagine if we could make them achieve that a little bit more by changing the approach we have with them to promote mindset as well as academic attainment. So, what I'd like you to do, we've got 15 minutes and we're going to spend 10 minutes on this task. I'm not usually one, I have to say, for flip chart and pens. Don't really like it, but but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each table a flip chart, guys, because I think we do this anyway. All the stuff you're talking about in terms of your practice, what you do, what you're promoting, is absolutely spot on. But I want to take away ideas about what we can do as teachers and spread this more widely, but also what we can do as a college to promote a growth mindset environment rather than it being kind of just something that we talk about. I personally, in my new role, want to spread this, want to do stuff with this, with learners explicitly, and I'm interested in how you think we can do it as teachers and how we can do it as an organisation. So, I'm going to give you a piece of flip chart, I'm going to take one in and collate it, I'm really, really sorry. But if you just want to do it on a piece of paper, that's also fine, so I'll let you choose. We're going to give you 10 minutes, I just want you to think about what can we do as teachers, what can we do as an organisation to promote growth mindset, and maybe how to change our own, because there'll be loads of us out there, but in certain situations we're completely fixed, but in others we're completely growth. So think about yourselves too. Is that all right? Do you want a flip chart, or do you just want to pick one piece of paper that I can take in at the end? You're going to make me make that decision. Alright, tell you what, I'll give you just a piece of A4 and just pick a spokesperson or a writer for your group and stick some ideas. As I've got round to groups again, I've not got round to everybody, but the ideas that you're coming out with, from something as small as having a vocabulary list of the sorts of things we should and shouldn't say, to something as big as, we need to really look at how we design our curriculum here, is amazing. You're thinking on the practitioner smaller scale to a much more wider scale. So can each table just give me kind of one idea of something that they think that we can do as teachers or we can do as an organisation to promote promote this stuff, and I know this is a whistle-stop tour, very surface level growth mindset, but hopefully it's given you enough to think about in terms of how we go about things. So can we start with this table? Can you just give me just one thing?
Okay, teaching is how you set the context of the task, like you said, modelling, so open, don't be negative, and how you set whatever the task is that you're going to do.
Yes.
This is a must do, this is a must win, whatever, it's kind of let's discover, let's go, let's fail, let's try, let's win.
Yeah, I like that.
So we've got a responsibility to set the context. We're talking about relationships with our learners, which is really important.
Yeah, good.
And organisationally, strategically, I think we need to be brave to challenge the dogma of what we've always done.
Yeah.
So you made mention of BTEC, and if BTEC's still crap in the summer, I would argue go to some other awarded body and find qualification. Just because you've always done BTEC doesn't mean, and I know that's a simplistic thing to say, there are some people out there that don't have other awarded bodies to go, so I know that. But just argue, BTEC's rubbish, let's go and find something that isn't rubbish.
Yeah, let's find something that fits the ethos a little bit more. Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of discovery. This should be about discovery. Learners should almost be, and I don't always like to use this term, but they're only sort of personal scientists. They need to be trying things, testing things, doing things, seeing what happens. Does it blow up? If it does, don't worry about it as long as you're not hurt. We'll do it again. Just put some more chemicals in there. I love it. I love discovery. Dan, talk me just through one thing.
That sounds like one of my lessons. I'm sorry if it blows up, but
let's not advocate that. I'm sure the college won't be pleased if we start blowing things up. Dan, just one thing.
So praising effort, effort, basically, positive effort.
Yeah, rather than kind of smartness or cleverness. But you're right, someone over here was saying about, this is relevant to any age. Like I've got a nephew and he's 4, but he'll come home from nursery and he might have done me like a picture, or this pasta shells on. He's like, Auntie Carly, I've made this for you. I'm like, you're so clever, well done. Like, actually, he's not clever, he just stuck a few bits of pasta on a sheet of paper. But I think when we work with young people, we kind of go down like, wow, that's really clever of you, God, you're clever, aren't you? And if we praise effort, not intelligence, people's attitude will change. So I like it. Let's go one from the back, guys. Were you one big group?
Yeah, we were talking about the teaching when we got into the organisation.
Okay,
the main
that's
thing
fine.
we came over, it was the same sort of thing with that, which is enthusiasm.
Yeah.
How enthusiastic we are with the task or with what we're teaching will reflect on how they react to what we're doing.
Definitely.
So we're standing up there, standing like we're bored,
yeah.
and they're doing bored,
yeah.
We're really enthusiastic and just discovering that sort of thing.
Yeah. Absolutely, and often learners will think that we're the experts, won't we? Like they think that we know it all. So being really open when they ask us a question and go, do you know what, I don't know that. I actually don't know the answer to that. Or being really surprised when they tell you something. But that's what
that's what we do when they say something to us. We ask them to tell us more because we actually, and they're I did not know, and then we get, you're a teacher though, and that doesn't mean we know everything, I knew nothing about what you're talking about, and sometimes we get them to feed it back to the rest of the group, and we say we've learned something today, we had no idea.
Yeah. So modelling is one of the best things we can do as an organisation and as teachers. Let's go this table. Were you 2 groups or were you 1? Yeah? Anybody, just let's go one idea.
We thought the first thing as teachers, it's really important to get the basics in place, so kind of getting the learners in a group so they kind of know each other and they're quite confident, that ice-breaking.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, so to create an environment from the outset where that's safe to kind of do the things that you're going to ask them to do later on. Yeah, I really like that. Anything else, guys? The other group, maybe one from you?
Well, for the organisation, to put down roll-on, roll-off classes can be really kind of quite problematic when you're teaching them.
Yeah.
And that thing about the functional skills not being set up quite early enough in the groups, and that can be problematic.
Yeah, so kind of being more mindful about the structure of curriculum design and how curriculum work with other curriculums.
Yeah, we do have quite a lot of roll-on, roll-off, I think, within Skills for Life, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's really problematic.
Yeah, you're in the middle of something with 2/3 and you get another cohort, and
it must be really difficult. Must be really. So thinking about that, maybe when we go back to our teams, thinking about in the summer how we're going to plan this a bit more. So we're a bit more open to things, and we're not going to put ourselves in a situation where we're constantly having to deal with challenge. Because there will be times when we fail and we challenge, we go, for goodness sake, like if this only happened, this really isn't my fault sometimes. Sometimes it is other people's fault, that's okay. So let's go Phil's group finally. Just one thing that you think we should do as teachers or organisation to promote growth mindset.
Introduce the students to a mindset lesson. So give the students this lesson.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah? Do you think they'd be receptive to it?
Yeah.
Some of them, yeah.
Ones with the mindset.
But we feel that it gives them something to actually take away to think about, because like they've been introduced to, I've never even heard of mindset until today. You know, but you know, they're all going to take something away from it. Feel, well, actually, I'm in that category. I want to move over into that category.
In that little video that we had to watch, that the principal forwarded us, she actually said students that in schools that understood how plastic the brain is. That makes a massive difference when they start to understand that. You know, I think that's a really good point. We should be doing it in every subject.
I think as well, we should.
The two brains. Was it's to, you know, the picture spoke of
Absolutely. Because we don't see any of that stuff, don't we? It's inside. But that in itself, explicitly teaching this, even in your lessons, even in your tutorials, do we have a whole tutorial provision for it? Let's face it, there's probably room in our tutorial to do something with this sort of stuff. What have we got?
Because I'm a learning coach, that just seems the obvious thing for learning coaches to be doing. It's because that's what we're about. We're all people, most of us are qualified teachers, but we don't teach because we like this aspect of education.
And it's the bit, you're right, that we miss, isn't it? We miss it. And it's so important, I love it. And the fact that you're fundamentally saying, Angela Duckworth in the principal's video says exactly that, teaching it explicitly is more powerful. What you do, we indirectly be doing this stuff. You challenge your learners every day, be indirectly doing it. But to explicitly teach it somehow, we don't know how yet, is more powerful. So the learner knows, my brain is malleable, my brain is like a muscle, it will grow, it will absorb. The more we learn, the more we challenge it, the more neural pathways it develops. It's so biological that we can't argue with it. And learners love that stuff. They learn to know how things work and they love to know it. So I think explicitly teaching is a really good thing. But just to capture all the things you said, you're right. There are some top tips that we can do in our own practice. Be critical. Don't be afraid to say to someone that they've not made a mistake. Be critical. Share the pain with them when it's difficult. Get them to say, well, why is this difficult? Share it in the group. Why did you find it difficult? What's difficult about it? We don't ever ask a learner really how they feel about something. We just kind of go, you've got to get on with it. But actually, if it's hard for a reason. And how can we help each other? So share the pain. Question the effort. If you don't think someone's making an effort, ask them why not. Tell me how you think you are making an effort. What more could you do? Make it difficult, don't make it easy. Make a big deal about effort, not ability. Acknowledge how hard they're working, not how clever they are. Demonstrate it yourself. Personally, I'd put that as being the top. I don't think there's a better thing to be doing than being the role model yourself. Display growth mindset. By that I mean in your classroom. Display it in your curriculum. Display it, I don't know, like Kathleen was saying, having the brains up, having pictures up. Displaying it creates an ethos of that. Have high expectations. I've heard so many teachers say, well, teaching's really changed now, there are certain things we can't do, learners have changed, so you kind of just have to go with it. But don't ever lose the high expectations that you think a learner should be achieving, because that's what's going to challenge them. And provide elements of choice, because with choice comes autonomy. A learner feels like they've got some control when you give them choice. There's just a couple of top tips which actually just affirm everything you've already said anyway. So I've kept you for longer than I should have done. That's okay, let's go with that role model thing. Just to finish off, you guys can see that. Just to quickly finish off, if you as a teacher have a growth mindset, if you look at all of these things, the teacher that focuses on ability has a higher level of output from a learner in terms of the learner's achievement. So with a fixed mindset, the learner's achievement is in negative value. It's a bit of research, so you don't need it. With a focus on effort, with a focus on self-efficacy and a focus on mastery, learners' achievement is positive. So when you're fixed yourself, you're actually doing your learners a disservice because they'll achieve at a lower rate than they're capable because you're fixed too. But when you're growth and you're open, your learners will achieve much more. So you don't really need to know that, that's an extra, just to keep you for longer. So you can't see that, but I just want to leave you with a quote before you disappear. And this is Carol Dweck's quote, one of hers. She says that people believe their talents and abilities can be developed through passion, education and persistence. For them, it's about commitment to learning, taking informed risks and learning from the results. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, look frankly at your deficiencies and seek a way to remedy them. So I just want you to think about when you go away, do we do this ourselves? If we don't, how can we change it? How can we help others do it? How can we help our learners do it? If you think this is a good thing for tutorials, let's do it, let's get it in there. I love it. In my role as kind of this research coordinator, I want to try new stuff and let's see if it works. So if you're in a curriculum area where you want to do it, come and find me and let's do it. Let's teach it. Has anyone got any questions?
How to fit with baseline?
Or you
Oh,
can
Mark, it's your turn, rip the paper.
Have you got any paper?
No, A4 size, and then not A3.
Okay, have you got time? Well, you've nearly done it. Have you got time? No one kind of want to
You
disappear.
didn't praise him very much, did you?
Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah, you nearly. Can you get through it? Very good. You can get through it.
That's my manager as well.
And you've done as well. I did promise that there would be prizes for people who do it. So,
Cough up the sweets.
yeah. Unfortunately, there's no sweets, but I have got some mindset books for you to take back to your departments, given that you did the task. And these, we've got loads of them in college, but you can take them back with you. But if you want to do this with your students, you're putting me on the spot now. This is where it will go horribly wrong. You literally tear it from edge to edge, but so it doesn't go all the way to the edge. You do that all the way down your paper. She says. And obviously, the smaller your columns, the bigger your loop will be. So you can make these as big or as little as you want.
You might this up your bonnet.
I know, if I like this up, I'm sacked.
Hey, just by the way, you got people. Oh, yes. Yeah. Good.
Have I done that one?
Yeah, no.
Oh no, hang on, let's have a look. Let's do just some bigger loops. Right, so you'll get something that looks a bit like this. So then you tear down the middle of these, which will open up your loop. Vicky says.
Yeah, very close.
And then you should be able